I'd like to now reintroduce Kris Chase, who is the director of the Center for the Regional Economy, and indeed we are delighted that every spring there is a State of the Economy conference for many years now. Spring is the time for new growth, and Professor Chase will address the current growth situation.
Okay, I hope you're taking notes, right? There's been a lot of numbers, must be economics. My job on the panel today is to focus on issues locally here in Contra Costa County and East Bay. And I think probably just the three issues that I'm going to talk about, and this is a nice follow-up to what Professor Shaw was talking about, is jobs, the impact of the stimulus plan, and housing. And so I'll start off with jobs. The unemployment rate locally is about 8% right now, and most forecasts are that it's going to rise to at least 9% by the end of the year, which is a nice follow-up to what Dean Allen had to say. In other words, we're right there, right in the average of financial crises. The hardest hit sectors for the local area are not surprising. Obviously, construction. So much home building happening out in Contra Costa County up until recently, so the construction industry has been heavily hit. So a large amount of that 8 to then 9% is in that area. Also, you have professional services and financial services, also very hard hit. And then more recently, the retail, employment in retailing. And what is interesting is that the construction and the professional and financial services, that unemployment is really the result of the financial crisis. The retail is more the result of the recession, and not the financial crisis. And that's a really important distinction, because obviously if you're concerned about different sectors, you have to look at why the unemployment occurred. And so all of the panelists have talked about the importance of getting our financial system back in order again, because that really is the underlying, thing that drove all the unemployment in certain sectors. What is interesting, though, in Contra Costa County is that actually in 2008, we actually gained jobs in a very crucial sector of our economy, and that is in education and health services. I mean, the number of jobs went up in those areas. And this is the good news, bad news, right? I mean, those are the sectors that are most at risk from the state budget crisis. So we sort of have those three things happening: the financial crisis, nationally and internationally, followed by the recession, and then we have the state budget crisis. And they're affecting different sectors of our economy. Okay, so that's some comments about jobs and what's going on with the job issue locally. Moving on to the impact of the stimulus package. Any spending on infrastructure is going to be good. Obviously, we've lost a lot of jobs in construction, and so that's a good thing. So we're looking for that spending on infrastructure. Any assistance to the states is going to be good. Clearly, we in California would benefit the most from a stimulus package that provided assistance to the states, because we have, particularly in Contra Costa County, a lot of jobs dependent upon the state budget, particularly in healthcare and in education. And of course, Arnold has said he's going to accept the money, right? So, so that's good for Contra Costa County. An interesting area that people are talking a little bit, and there's been some press on this lately, is, and people tend to forget about this, but there are $4.8 billion in the stimulus package for research in biomedical, high energy physics, fusion physics, I mean, all sorts of basic science. The local area stands to benefit substantially from that, because we have two very large research labs located right around us. And so we stand to benefit from that. So I think a lot of people will be watching to see that kind of spending. Nobody expects that there are going to be a lot of jobs that is going to flow from that immediately. That's some of the long run things that Andy was talking about in terms of the impact in the economy. But certainly it provides, that sort of support. Okay, the third subject that I wanted to focus on, of course the one that takes up so much of the press locally, is housing. And with housing, this is a classic economic sort of thing on the one hand, on the other hand. I mean, there's sort of bad news, good news, bad news. Bad news. Median home price in Contra Costa County is down over 50%, which again reflects some of the data, historical data that Dean Allen gave. I mean, basically, the median home price in Contra Costa County right now, inflation adjusted, is the same as it was in 2003. We've come back to 2003. It is about $220,000. Now, the problem is it's a little skewed because a lot of high-end homes are just taken off the market. And so there's a lot more low-end homes in that calculation. And of the sales, 64%, almost two-thirds of the resales right now in Contra Costa County represent foreclosures. So what happens in policy is key. Good news. Sales of existing homes are up 65% from last year. So you've got price down 50%, you've got sales of existing home up 65%. All of you students of economics, demand is elastic. Okay, remember? I mean, in other words, price comes down, quantity sales go up. And in fact, Contra Costa County has more sales going on right now than anywhere else in the Bay Area. However, the bad news is that the proposed financial rescue plan probably isn't going to help us a whole lot. The problem with the rescue plan is that it only applies to conforming loans. In other words, smaller mortgages. And it only applies to homes that where people are underwater by only 5%. Meaning, in other words, the value of their home is less than what their mortgage by 5%. That basically wipes out everybody in Contra Costa County for being able to take advantage of this. So, solutions. I mean, as my last comment to all of this, we need something, and I think this echoes what everybody has said, that to fix the financial system. And I will throw out my thoughts on this. Whatever we do to fix the financial system, it has to be really simple and something that everybody can understand. The current plans that you have heard, all the different things that have come out from both the Federal Reserve and the Treasury, are basically, from my perspective, too complicated. I mean, they were designed by the same people who gave us credit default swaps. And, you know, it's the same, I mean, and I'm not saying that they are not, you know, the smartest people in the room, but we're used to kind of coming up with these solutions that are very complicated. I would prefer a very simple solution. I mean, and I'll just throw it out, something to talk about. The government, rather than spending all this money recapitalizing banks, simply provides, rows into the mortgage market and simply provides 4%, 40-year mortgages for a very simple qualification for homeowners. This would erase a lot of those mortgage-backed securities, the toxic assets that are on banks' balance sheets. It would take away the need to recapitalize the banks, and it would self-liquidate. The United States government did this in the 1930s. It did go into the mortgage market and made lots of mortgages, which eventually didn't actually get paid off until the 1950s. I mean, in other words, there's a lot of history here we can learn about how we can solve this crisis. Yes, it is going to be unfair to do that, but, you know, the market that we are in, as we always say in economics, the market is efficient, but it isn't particularly fair. I mean, the market that got us to this situation was unfair to a lot of people. A lot of people didn't get all those gains. A lot of people didn't sell out. Some people sold out. But by using the market, it could be extremely efficient to provide the right solution. So I think my time is up, and thank you.